hey, here's a meme. Listen to our music.
Yeah. Yeah. This is Maitreya.
Anyways, shall we talk about Catalyst?
Yes, let's.
So
It's a song. We wrote this song about Mark's ability to bring the band together, all the individual members, and kind of like fit that into a fantasy narrative where the MacGuffin is a bunch of gems you got to collect.
For me, this was a song I had like a writing spree in 2018 that was largely influenced by what I was going through. Personally, I had a tumor on my tongue and I had to have a fairly extensive surgery on it. So I think a lot of the nerves leading up to the surgery and a lot of emotions post-surgery sort of led to all these 2018 songs. When we had the rehearsal space in the rehearsal factory, that was the last song we did that ended up on the album. I remember I wanted to keep pushing and just get a whole lot more songs. Like, that's where we kind of capped it. Like, we had tried Warp and never did it, and then we just sort of said, we got 10, whatever, let's just make it. Or is it, I guess it's 9. I don't know. But like,
well, we had 10, and then we released Colonize separately from Hyperwheel. So.
And then fill the blank with the spoken word speech.
it was that, and we cut that song that was like the exact same as Pilgrim. I don't remember what it was called, but we had 2 songs that were like the same thing. Do you remember what that one was called?
No. I do not. I do not.
Do you know what song I'm talking about, though?
History is chosen by the victor, and Pilgrim won. I do remember that you're right, but I don't remember what song it was.
Okay.
What was Evolve?
That was a 2016 one. That was really old. Where did I even find it?
Holographic was one.
That's a good one, but that doesn't make the cut.
Or Orbit was another one, I think, from that same time.
It's also really old.
As you can see, we like space.
One of my favorite ones is Fuck. I love that one.
Oh my god.
That just like crazy shred at the beginning on just like the tremolo. And then it comes in with like a classic rock Iron Maiden.
I think I read that for that Viking show we were on. Was that Russian band or something?
Yeah,
like that?
when we played with Arcona.
I think I won something that was like in that vein. So like, oh, people seeing that show are gonna probably want.
And you used the Tourette's guy sample for that. Fuck.
Oh yeah.
When he's coming through from the kitchen with the hot chicken wings. Right?
So anyways, where were we? Basically, Catalyst. It was a song we wrote in 2018. It was the last song that made it on the album. And I think I remember from having that space we had rented at the Ritz factory that we were sharing with
Drone Wolf.
Rest in peace, Drone Wolf.
R.I.P.
You weren't at that rehearsal because we were doing like an instrumental thing. You're just like, you know, what we used to call it, like pop the cherry on it or something like that.
Yeah, we had pop the cherry.
We'd pop the. So we gave Catalyst its cherry.
It's cherry pop.
Yeah, and I remember it was the first song we had done in the whole record where we played it literally from start to finish the very first time. I guess everyone had the transcription and the demo, and instrumentally we just like, okay, let's try it, and we just actually made it from front to back without making any mistakes.
Which I don't think we had been able to do before, except for some like simple 4-chord covers that we had done.
Yeah.
But I remember it being like it was pretty easy, except for the one part which still gives me trouble. That breakdown riff
Breastplate buried in earth. Yeah.
The rest of it was pretty, and I remember that transition, like even for Steve, that transition from the part just before that, where it's pretty like standard 4/4/4 kind of stuff, to that like da da da, with the break at the end with the rest. I remember that being a struggle at first, but I think we got it all done that day.
It was kind of cool for me as like the new member of the band at the time to come into the writing process, and you guys basically don't have names for songs. I'm like, cool, like perfect.
Cool. I get to pick.
Yeah, yeah.
Versus album 2, it's like I think every title was the demo name.
Yeah. I don't think we changed any of them really.
I think we just got lucky because they were all closely enough related.
Well, I think it was half because of I actually used parts of the demo name to brainstorm lyrical concepts and inspiration and things like that. So it was kind of like a chicken or egg situation where I actually did base some of the lyrics off like the general, at least tried to generally like tie in some.
Yeah, and I think we've been better at that in more recent time. We're coming up with a name for the song that encapsulates what the instrumental like really is saying. And then for you to put words around that concept is already the concept you would have used.
Yeah, and more recently, some of the recent demos that we've done, we've gone back and forth on the naming conventions, like that funk tune I asked you to write, Ka, like probably the laziest demo name to date. We won't. That's not going to be the name. You know?
Yeah, 2 letters, arbitrary letters. I don't know.
But honestly, I had so much fun with that song. Like it didn't even matter. I'm like, whatever. We'll figure. Who cares what the name is? Fucking sick song.
Yeah, whistle solo.
Hell yeah! Stay tuned.
Give listeners what they want. little treats here and there.
Little taste. Give them half a second. You can't give them too much.
I think the other thing too is we played those songs for. We played those songs live for probably like 2 years before we seriously got in the studio.
Yeah, so before we even recorded.
For us to make a new set list after that with a new title would just be like so weird to be like, why is a song called this when we've seen dozens of set lists with the name like this? It was just too late to. Yeah,
I think the only song that we actually legitimately like brainstormed changing the name on was Radical. Because I kept making the surfer like radical. But like when it came down to it, the song being about like a cybernetic surgery, like it was a radical procedure.
Yeah, so a radical shift.
I mean, I think there are songs that don't make sense. Like I think Summit. Like I think Steve came over, and when it was like we were actually writing it, and I was like, oh man, it sounds like you're like climbing a summit or like you're climbing a mountain. We're like, okay, that's what it's called. Sweet, it's done.
Boom. And then I was watching American Gods at the time, and I was like, that's perfect.
We talked about this a bit before, where it's like some songs are like the hybrid. What's happening?
Why you no sound?
Can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
It's not like super crappy.
No, sounds
good. I think that riff is kind of like the offspring from Remnants a little bit. Because if Remnants is like, how's it go?
There, yeah, that's the one.
That one. It's kind of very similar, but it's also kind of like that plus Boundless.
Oh, you pulled that one out of the mind vault in the end?
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
So this is all muscle memory. His brain's not working.
Yeah, I mean, I actually tried to play this the other day. I didn't remember how this part went. So it's kind of like if I took those two things and you get the Catalyst riff, which is how's it go?
Da, 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 da. Yeah.
it's kind of like those chords from Remnants, plus the little noodlies from
from
Boundless.
Yeah, totally. Big old love child.
Yeah.
I remember when we first tried it out too, that breakdown part was like hit so hard because it kind of has like a bluesy kind of swing to it. Ba 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 ba.
Oh yeah, the triplets.
Yeah, it's a cool like shuffly kind of sound.
I think that was the first time we actually did. I think the songs have like a very overt metric modulation where we had to get Steve to do the 12/8 feel over the 4/4.
Yeah.
I think that was a bit of a, that took some time, but he figured it out, and it sounds better than whatever we had on the program.
On the demo.
It sounds easier to program modulations on MIDI.
Yeah,
You're like,
easy to make them.
Every 3 notes is now the new grid versus like, okay, I have to keep the same kick pattern for the riff, but change the entire hand to make it fit. That's obviously way more complicated than
Really hard. The soft section is cool too. I think a few of the songs tie in with that same kind of vibe, which I think works well like for the whole album. That like I guess it's the first verse,
yeah,
where it goes quite ambient, and then there's that like drum and bass like driving pattern, and that idea comes back in Pilgrim and Invaders as well.
And we haven't really explored that sort of ambient clean thing as much. Obviously, being more of a riff-heavy band, to have those sort of moments was really like, oh, this whole clean guitar thing with drum and bass group is pretty sweet. So I think, I mean, as a little, I don't know, foreshadowing, we definitely do that moment of Catalyst. It's like a big seed for all the new stuff we can write.
Yeah.
It's like we've kind of taken that clean tone, jazz chord, bass groove, seed, and kind of go, okay, now let's see how that grows into this. So for
write a whole goddamn song.
For our album 3 videos we'll make in the future about this, we'll be like, oh yeah, it's like we took Catalyst and Pilgrim, and then we did this.
Reference back to this moment right now. Another thing of note that I think on this album, but in Catalyst specifically, is that it's a lot more optimistic in feel. A lot of myself being a edgy boy, I like melancholy vibes, and I like more emotionally dark kind of themes and tones, and Catalyst is actually one that falls outside of that for me at least, and I think a couple songs on the album do. So being a little, or balancing the optimism with some melancholy is nice.
Yeah, like that optimism was on the first album as well, like with common threads, but the tone of the music didn't match that. It was just the lyrical content that was like positive.
Yeah, and I can look specifically an easy song to juxtapose would be The Author, where there's a specific moment in the song where I like lyrically decided to be like, oh wow, it sounds a lot more happy now, so let's be like, oh, but also the happy bits, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool to kind of, again, like Mark was saying about kind of like the seeds, taking that seed of more of an optimistic vibe, and you can definitely see the tree that grew from it on this album.
Didn't you guys get together for that writing session? Wasn't that like
we went to your old place when you lived on, I think it was Gladys Street.
Yeah, that's the one. We specifically wanted us writing the song to be a surprise for you, Mark. So we got together in secret and didn't invite you to write the song for you.
I think the original idea Steve had was to write the song like about you and how much we love you and stuff.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I thought that wouldn't be something that you would like. I thought that if we made the song that way, you would be like, oh well, that's not going on the album. So we tried to like have the song be about you in concept, but not really in like direct lyrics.
Or the underlying bass for the song is like, we love you so much and we love how you've brought us all together. But then like the way it comes out is like you get shades of that, but it's not just like like a love letter over and over again. It's not super cheesy,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I think it's like the first or only time I wasn't involved
Yeah.
in some aspect of the music in that sense. But then every time we play it live, I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what happened in that room when they were writing that? Like, how do they get that? And perhaps that's sort of the mystery that you guys feel sometimes when you just like get songs to play.
Some of the
like that.
demos,
It's just like, what happened? Like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Totally.
No, it was fun to write it. We came up with like a gemstone that would like represent each member of the band, and then your character was kind of a character that was collecting these gemstones as like a sort of like an infinity gauntlet kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
You know, we all are pretty big like fantasy fans, so the fantasy backdrop was no stranger to us. It was very fun to be able to write you a love letter in fantasy environment.
The way we wrote the song is like the different times that the different members came up, and that's why when we were doing the video, I was super into like, it's got to be orange here, it's got to be blue here, it's got to be pink here.
Some of those lyrics lend themselves to the visuals, which is why we decided that this one was a mandatory music video single.
So I think when I wrote this one, I was like, oh, this has so many of like the cool ingredients that I thought Maitreya was. So I'm glad that this song in particular kind of made the cut, as you know, there's been lots that just kind of
yeah, and like that's interesting. It's like a synchronicity, right? Where you wrote the song parts in that way, and then when we wrote the lyrics, it was also that same thing. And I would wonder if like the parts that you wrote for like thinking of each member and the way we play would coincide with the parts that we assign to each member as like the part of them joining the band.
That would be deep if it did. We have to explore that.
Whoa, dude. The inception of it isn't as relevant as like the actual output and conclusion of how it sounds, and also how each individual member is able to put a piece of themselves in that part as well.
Yeah, and I like the way you write, like when you write bass lines, you write bass lines as a guitar player, I guess it would be a way to put it. So there's always enough space for me to be like, okay, well, this part takes a pop instead of just playing on the low note. When Steve gets the track, he'll look at what you've put, and it's basically like establishing a grid, and then he puts his accents on the snare and on the china and on the toms, wherever he's going to put them. And then that triggers me to go like, oh, he did the snare on this beat instead of the way it was on the thing. So that's where the pop goes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like a scaled down, blank slatey kind of thing, but with little bits of Mark's imagination, because he knows all of us pretty well.
Yeah, or even you just have the musical knowledge and the like musical vocabulary to know how to tie parts together. Yeah, so then when the tying the parts together is already done, it's easy to flesh out the individual parts, because you don't have to worry about like, well, how am I going to get to this next riff? Because that path is already established.
At the end of the writing process for this album, we had really refined like, here's the framework, here's the parts, show up and we'll see what happens, as opposed to getting in the room and then, oh, you got a riff? Let's hear your riff. And then, oh, I got an idea. Or, okay, let me try singing over this part. And then I feel like that would just take way more time for us. And I don't know, we haven't tried it. Maybe we should put that
I'm sure, to be clear, like I'm sure we will one day. I mean,
well, we have a bit. And I think some of those songs did like come out in that way between you and Matt, where it was like passing back and forth.
I think Aswara actually started off from a jam session. I think me and Matt had one of our warm-up jams. We played that groove and that became a soir, and then obviously it just kind of goes off into it.
That makes sense. That intro riff is very like I could totally see that being just like an improv bit, and then be like, oh, that's actually pretty good. Let's keep that. Filming the music video was the first one we've really done. Every music video we've put out before that has been like live stage performance videos. So we rented like a professional videographer, studio space, and got a dress code. And a couple days before, I believe Liam and I were hanging out, and we wanted to have kind of like a specific creative vision for it. So we were kind of going back and forth on visual ideas, and one of the things we came up with was the faces, the emotive faces.
Yeah, I think at that time I was watching The Mandalorian, and at the beginning of those new Star Wars things, they have like the Star Wars logo thing that they go through is the different helmets and different droid faces
being
with
shined,
a light,
right?
yeah, with a light zooming by it, like a green and red, or a blue and red light, like the lightsaber colors. And I thought that would be cool. And then that tied in right well with the color aesthetic, yeah, the gemstone color aesthetics that we had.
Yeah, because we wanted basically some kind of input. We knew it was going to be kind of like a more professionally done like live playthrough video, a live performance video, but we wanted a little bit more of kind of like creative vision elements in it, so that kind of satisfied that. And then shout out to Hart for being a goat, because
yeah, and then we got the video back from his name was John, right?
Yeah.
We got the video back from John, and it just seemed kind of bland with it was just like the performance shots with those faces here and there.
It's funny because I remember we had like a bit of an argument where I had this sort of original vision of like, oh, it should just be like a really well done performance video.
Yeah.
And then you were like, oh, my creative vision, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
then you were the one who kiboshed the original cut we got from him, because you're like, that sucked.
it was good. I thought that it wasn't the aesthetic that we should pursue, or I was also worried about. It's like it was definitely you were right, sort of. You told me so sort of moment. But I was like, no one's gonna watch a video of a song this long if it's not like after 2 or 3 minutes of us just being performance based, it's gonna get dull. So it's not like any discredit to John for his edit. It just like,
oh no, it was very good quality.
No, we didn't give him anything to work with. Other than like we have shots of our faces and playing. Now make video, please.
Yeah, and for me, it was kind of a push towards this being the first incarnation of a creative medium that we were doing. For me, that was an opportunity for creativity, and I personally am someone who doesn't really watch music videos myself even, so it's not like I had like a big reference to pull from, but the creative opportunity of like, this is content that we're putting out, and to be able to put bits of ourselves into it in the kind of inventive or more like narrative aspects of our music, I think it would have been a missed opportunity to just do like a flat playthrough without any of that in it.
And I think I got you twice with that told you so when you wanted to have like a story throughout, and I was like, no, let's do like Gojira The Cell and just have like footage trippy as hell, and it's super interesting to look at, and now this and now this and now this, and then it worked perfectly. And shout out to Hart, because he like
he's a man.
Version 7.
I don't know
version
if
7.
I don't know if I'm easy to work with or not. So I was just kind of like, no, that's bad. No, that's bad. No, that's bad. Do this, do this, do this, do this. And he just was super receptive.
Dude's crazy. He just like won't stop until we're satisfied. And that's a trait that I've come to learn, even in the process of people who we've collaborated on this album, is that if someone isn't willing to show that level of dedication, then I don't really know if I trust working with them. Like I want someone who's like,
it's almost not worth working with someone who doesn't have their soul in it.
they're willing to put up with all our shit until we're like 100% satisfied. Like even shout out to Zane for doing the mix.
Fuck yeah.
We could be at like mix 4 or 5, and he's not gonna be like, oh, these fucking guys, like figure it out. Like, what do you want from me? Which I think,
it's easy to feel like that because like even when we were recording it, it was like that. It was like take 50 of hard riff in Departed, and I'm like, oh my god, Mark doesn't want to hear me play this riff bad anymore.
And just a bit for the record, I'm the favorite for that.
Yeah, it's easier to sing. Well,
it's a lot harder. Yeah, it's a lot harder to nail a technical riff than it is to nail a voice part.
I say it's easier to sing, and then I can't sing. So
with the music videos kind of going forward and stuff like that, this being kind of like the first incarnation, just like we've been talking about with the rest of the music, I mean, this is only a seed. We are really excited to film more music videos. We're looking at one for Summit at the very least, and yeah, like that one we're gonna try and do something a little bit more in like the narrative aspect, and I'm sure there will be more kind of like performance / abstract visual ones in the future as well. But definitely really exciting to dip our toes creatively into the video aspect when we've been pretty hard into the audio aspect.
I'm not sure what it is, but I just love the visual component with the music. And like it's something that's easy to fail at. Like I've watched so many that I wouldn't ever watch again, but then there's other ones that just like that Gojira one for the Cell where they have that thermal camera. That was such a cool
so cool.
such a cool thing.
I've come to learn that visual arts, whether it's music videos or graphic design, I just know don't give me control over this. My eyes don't know symmetry or balance or composition. I know how to do that with my ears, but I know my eyes are not, made.
Well, it's cool. It's cool in that sense because we all have our strengths. Like I think that if your strength, Mark, is like specifically in like the audio realm, Liam definitely has a huge strength in terms of like that artistic eye. And if I was to pat myself on the back, I think it would be like the kind of conceptual creative vision kind of stuff, like just kind of thinking about wacky ideas of how to represent things in a visual way. And then, yeah, Liam would be like, here's how we do this for real, though.
Yeah, or like you're quite organized. Like I feel like we would be in a much different position if we didn't have your organization.
Yeah,
in the Dropbox and
neurotic
in
as
the
fuck.
Discord and
formatting forever.
I'm tired of Skywalkers.
I know, everyone is. That's the mindset that everyone loves jerking off.
I guess Mark hasn't seen it. Sorry. Sorry, Mark.
I haven't seen it yet.
Cut out all the spoilers. Thanks for the fans.
Yeah.
Anyways, Catalyst out now. Departed.
Yeah.
Coming out on
Sorry.
last Friday of every month. A new single every Friday at last Friday of the month. Check it out.
Yep.